Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Welcome to our NFL Draft Prospect Special. Today we're going to highlight Carson Strong, quarterback out of the University of Nevada. So if you like the video this morning, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me, I'm excited. I consider him the best in the business. He knows everything, especially the quarterback position. I didn't believe him at first, but he said that Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence was going to struggle. He's blowing up on the national scene, and I'm so grateful and so honored to have him on 100 Yards Football this morning. He got his really studying from two of the greatest coaches in pro football. He was an NFL scout with the New York Jets under Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick. He writes right now, covering the Detroit Lions for Sports Illustrated. He's got one of the best books out there. It's a top seller on Amazon, whatever it takes. Please read the book. It's very inspiring. And it tells you, hey man, when all chips are down, and you only got yourself, it gives you an uplift. Please buy his book. But today, he's going to join me to break down Carson Strong, quarterback of the University of Nevada. He's coming live out of Key West, Florida this morning. My man, I know him as DK, out of the state of Minnesota, Mr. Daniel Kelly. How you doing this morning, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well, but not as well as you. I mean, with the Atlanta Braves winning last night, I wore this hat, the Atlanta Falcons, just for you guys.
Well, I tell you what, you was thinking ahead of time. Like right now, the city is very quiet. But I imagine, DK, by 10 a.m., it's going to be electric, and the parade is on Friday. So you're looking at Atlanta being a sports town. They haven't had a championship since the Braves won it in 1995. Hey, man, and this is the first one. I've been in this great area for, since 1996, the month of October when I came to Atlanta. Boy, it's been a long time. But let's get to what you do best, baby. Break down Carson Strong, quarterback at the University of Nevada.
Absolutely, Mr. Turner. Hello, everybody. Carson Strong, Nevada, 6'4", 216. I looked at him in 2021 film exposure. The film does not lie. I looked at him against Cal, Boise State, and also Kansas State. And let me say something before I begin. When I watch these quarterbacks, you touched on it for a moment ago about Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence. I appreciate the props, Mr. Turner, and also with Trey Lance. It's when I watch these quarterbacks, I have an encyclopedia, a memory of 40 years of NFL quarterbacks. So when I look at these guys, I'm comparing them to the guys I've seen over the last 40 years, and I've seen all of them. This guy, Carson Strong, is a big-time pro prospect. I am slotting him right now, currently number 2 on my draft board behind Ole Miss's Matt Corral. First impressions, it's all about first impressions on film. When I look at Carson Strong, I see John Freeze comes to mind. I see Drew Bledsoe, Vinny Testaverde. More recently, I see a Mac Jones type of player, maybe a Jared Goff. Back before when he still had his confidence. First impressions, when I looked at him on film, first things that stood out to me, tall, lanky, long arm quarterback, operates exclusively out of the shotgun, long arms. First impression was he looks like a pitcher. He looks like a first baseman type. He has a very strong pocket presence. This is vitally important to grab a hold of. He has a very commanding pocket presence. I like what I see in his eyes. Again, it's all in the eyes when it comes to a quarterback. You can read a quarterback by his eyes the way Matt Millen talked about NFL films when I was a young man coming up in Minnesota, as you allude to, Mr. Term, is you can read a quarterback by his eyes. With Carson Strong, he looks alert in his eyes. He looks smart. He looks like he has laser focus, was my first impressions. This is a guy that is a classic pro-style pocket passer. He's not one of these dime a dozen RPO. When I say RPO, I mean run pass option quarterbacks that are coming out like coming out of a factory these days in the NFL draft. This is a different type of guy. This is a classic pro style, kind of like a throwback quarterback. Okay, let's unpack the things I like about Carson Strong. I hope you're sitting because there's a lot. The things I like is he is very, again, as I touched on, very comfortable looking in the pocket. This is key. He's very smooth looking in the pocket. He's very confident. He looks very natural in the pocket. He reminds me very much so, as I touched on, about Mac Jones when he came out of Alabama. He makes it look easy and effortless. Very good pocket poise. He just looks really good back there. He has when he takes the snap, all the shotgun, he makes it look easy. He has very good ball handling skills and play action fake. He has that's important too, be able to hold and freeze an NFL defense with that play action, to hold the linebackers and hold the safeties for just a moment, to give the receivers and the tight ends what's called route leverage advantage. He does not, he does make very quick decisions with the ball. He knows where he's going with the football. This is another important thing. Does not pat the ball. I know in previous shows we talk about these quarterbacks that have the mechanical flaw of patting the football before delivery, before throwing, telegraphing throws to the defensive backs. This guy, Carson Strong, does not have that mechanical flaw. He does not pat the ball. Kudos to whoever's coaching Carson Strong. Nice job on the quarterback coaching side of it. He has very good pocket mechanics. What I like a lot about him, and this is something that a lot of scouts and a lot of NFL people, and a lot of people on the NFL Network and anywhere else do not talk about, but you'll hear it here on our show, is that there's something that's very important in the element of scouting quarterbacks. One of my scouting director friends has given me the new name of the quarterback whisperer because I've been right on these guys coming out last year. And I think a quarterback is a lot like a drummer in a band. I know, Mr. Turner, you have a natural affinity towards music. You touch on every show. Quarterbacks have a very, they're like drummers. They bring a certain rhythm to an offense. They bring a certain tempo to an offense. This guy, like Trevor Lawrence, for example, the rhythm is off. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a different page of music than he is most of the time. Same thing with a Zach Wilson. This may be one of the most important elements of playing quarterback in college and in football in the National Football League, is what is the rhythm and tempo the quarterback runs the offense with. This guy, Carson Strong, runs a very relaxed but urgent feeling tempo. That is excellent. That's a very mature thing that only a lot of veteran quarterbacks in the NFL bring to a team on the field. So I like that about him. Overall, great mechanics. I don't see any mechanical flaws with Carson Strong whatsoever. He shows a very strong arm. He can make all the throws at all three route levels on the field. When I say all three route levels, I mean short, I mean an intermediate, middle part of the field, middle length of the field, and also deep. He can make all the throws. He's somebody that can really drive the ball downfield. There's a few times. I mean, there's quarterbacks. This happened with Mac Jones last year when I watched him on film. There was what I call a lot of damn moments. Like those moments where he makes a throw and I'm like, damn. Wow. And that's the kind of throws that he makes at times. He can really aggressively drive the ball downfield. He is a very aggressive downfield thrower. He's a very good deep ball thrower. He is not afraid to go downfield and hit the home run. He takes a lot of deep shots in this offense. Other things I liked about him, there's more. Like I said, I hope you're sitting because there's a lot of things I do like about him. He can cut, you're talking about the arm strength, he can cut it loose. He can throw the ball on what's called a rope, a frozen rope. You see it on the inside slant routes. You see it on the out patterns. But the nice thing about Carson Strong, he's not like Trey Lance, who basically throws it at 100 miles an hour from 5 feet away. He can take something off the ball and he can throw touch passes as well. Very smooth, natural-looking delivery, throws some really pretty type of passes. This, guys, is what I call a prolific passer. He generally does not, he throws the ball where only the receiver a lot of times can go get it and has a chance to get it, like a Mac Jones. Decent, now great ball placement, but decent ball placement. And one of the things I like too is he is dependable. He doesn't take chances with the football. He protects the football, doesn't just chuck it up dog and see who can go get it, doesn't throw a lot of 50-50 balls that could go either way. This guy, he's got decent accuracy that I like too. And this is going to be something that's really going to serve him well when he goes into a National Football League team in a training camp, is he's not making costly mistakes as a rookie. This is going to get him on the field even quicker, in my opinion, than the NFL. It's going to serve him very well. There's a lot to like. Things I don't like about Carson Strong. There are a few things. There are no 10s, as Tony Rosano said in his book, Secrets of NFL Scout, the book I learned how to scout on. The old scouting director with the 49ers back in their heyday in the 80s, he said there are no 10s. There's always some things that you're going to not like. I mean, Barry Sanders wasn't a power football runner, that type of thing. Things I do not like. Sam I Am, Green Eggs and Ham, right? The old book I learned how to read on. Things I don't like is he seems basically, he seems to operate in what's mostly a first read offense. He does show the ability occasionally to go through his progressions, but there's a lot of times where he just goes with the first read and that's it. And maybe looks at it, locks into his receivers a little too much. You cannot do this in the NFL. You cannot make a living as a quarterback locking in with your receivers and telling the defensive backs, hey, coming your way. These guys can break in a ball in a split second. You have to have the ability to look off safeties, to look off defensive backs, and adjust your eyes. Defensive backs in the NFL. I mean, we're looking at the Atlanta Falcons hat. We all remember Deion Sanders. I mean, these type of guys, Bobby Butler, we remember him too with the Falcons. These type of guys can break on the football very quickly. I want to see more of him not locking with the receiver and adjusting and going through his progressions. That's something I want to see. There's a lack of mobility with this guy. This guy is a statue in the pocket. He is a dinosaur. He sits in the pocket. It's not pretty when he runs the ball. This guy has no idea how to even slide. When he does run, he's going to need some work, as far as in the pocket, at least learning how to slide. The lack of mobility is there, and also he takes sacks as a result of this. Now, the good thing is with taking the sacks, he doesn't just throw it up in the air and hope for the best, like we saw with Patrick Mahomes a couple of weeks ago. He does take the sack. He doesn't make any stupid decisions. But he's not going to beat you with his feet. That's something. So, another thing too is I would like to see a little bit more better accuracy, downfield at times. He seems a little bit better and more accurate when he can set his feet. It's just he gets a little erratic when he's on the move, a little bit more so, in my opinion. He's a sitting duck in the pocket. Hint, any defensive coordinators in the NFL who are watching this, the way the pressure this guy is bringing strong blitzes up the gut, right in the middle, in his face. That's the way probably the best defend against him, get him out of his comfort zone. Again, he takes a lot of deep shots in this offense, but again, I want to see better deep ball accuracy. Another thing I question is the level of competition. This wasn't, I made a lot of comparisons circling back to Mac Jones. Mac Jones, let's remember, folks, he played for Alabama and played against the most elite talent level, the elite defensive backs, elite competition there was out there, and did it at the highest level under the lights. We don't see that. Now, I'm not going to fault Carson Strong because he doesn't make the schedules, but I'm not seeing the elite talent he's going against with Cal, Boise State, and Kansas State. Not taking anything away from those programs. It's just a different animal. It's a different level of competition. So that's a question mark for me. If I'm an NFL general manager, I'm taking consideration the level of competition and who he's going against. I think everybody in the country made the mistake with Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, falling in love with these guys, had really inferior level of competition schedules. A lot of the guys that Zach Wilson, Trey Lance played against won't even sniff an NFL tryout. And so this is an important factor when it comes to NFL scouting. Another thing, too, is exclusively operating on the shotgun. He's a taller kid. I want to see how he is under center. It's another thing. Overall, when I pulled his background, I did an article for NFL Draft Diamonds this week talking about the importance of NFL background. When you go on Google, Google's a scout's best friend or an aspiring scout's best friend. You type in Carson Strong background. Background information is half the equation when it comes to an NFL scouting report and how they line these guys up on draft boards. The good news about Carson Strong is I didn't see anything bad come up in his background, like we talked about last week with Matt Corral. Some of the character things I talked about in the last show. Matt Corral is what came up were stories about how he has a competitive. His coach said, one of his coaches, he has a competitive chip on the shoulder, screw you attitude. He's extremely competitive. He's somebody that came up as a multi-sport athlete. His dad talked about when he was young as he can remember, he was throwing a little Fisher-Price basketball through the hoop when he was a tiny little kid. He's somebody that grew to play, ironically, play pitcher. Like at first impression, he did spend some time playing pitcher, but he also played, he was really a two-star athlete in high school, playing both the basketball and the football. And he set some high school records even playing basketball. It's said over and over in different articles, he has a special passion for sports. He's really a good character guy from everything I can see. And if there is emotional guy too, which I love. I love guys that show some emotion, some fire, and some on the field. If there is a chief concern for NFL teams before they select this guy, is he a top 10 prospect? I think so in this draft. I think he is. I think when you have somebody like this who can throw the ball deep and do the things that he does and look as prolific as he does, I think you do have a top 10 quarterback in this year's draft class. The big concern, the chief concern, is going to be his knee. I noticed he's wearing a knee brace against Kansas State. He had a surgery on the knee a senior year, I believe, in high school. He came back and had another, a slight knee injury this season. From everything I read and people's assessments of him, if there is a chief concern, it's going to be the knee. It's going to medically need to check out before a team pulls the trigger. And another nice thing is he says he can punt too. On the different research I did, this creates a battery of problems for opposing teams because if I'm the general manager and Carson Strong's my quarterback on the team, I know what I'm going to do. Being a special teams guy, I was a special teams scout with the New York Jets my third season. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put him back in punt formation sometimes. And I'm going to give a look. I mean, we could punt or we could fake. I mean, Randall Cunningham had some of that to him where he could punt as well. And so that's an added extra plus, an added benefit is this guy could punt as well. But overall, guys, I walked away impressed. I'm not impressed with a lot of these guys. As we all know, I'm maybe the hardest grader of football talent in America. But this guy checked all the boxes for me, and I really liked him, Mr. Turner.
What I like about Carson Strong, you just mentioned one key component when you're looking at these players, the film don't lie. Mm-hmm. I'll go back in the loss this year to Fresno State. Nevada ended up losing that football game 34-32, but the young man was flawless that night. 476 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 INT. Then you mentioned the California game. Level of competition, Pac-10. He had 312 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the key thing I like about him, think about his last 4 games, BK. 16 touchdowns, 3 INTs, 2,100 yards. Out of those 3 games, completing nearly 74%.
Impressive.
And it reminds me, you talked about his arm strength. Clearly, he might have the strongest arm in the 2022 NFL draft. Mm-hmm. But it reminds me of 3 players that I saw in my lifetime. David James, that played at Kansas back in 1973, had a very big-time upset win over that great Oklahoma team that had Joe Washington and the Selman brothers. Then we keep bringing up Atlanta. It's on fire because of the Braves won the World Series last night. You can't say his arm strength is similar to Steve Brokowski out of Cal, who had a big arm. And then finally, he really puts me in the mind. Think about them Houston Cougar teams. They had the offense in the late 80s, early 90s. They had a guy that followed Andre Ware, who won the Heisman Trophy. His name is David Klingler. Now, his pro career didn't work out, but man, I promise he looks just like him. The ball comes out his hands just like it did with David Klingler. But as you said, I'm agree with you. I like the young man, and I like him because if you look at this, and I'm just saying this me, I'm not on the level of you being a scout, but you know the NFL is like the great Al Davis, I always say. The game is about being vertical. This young man can get the ball downfield vertical. Final words this morning on Carson Strong, quarterback out of Nevada, Mr. Daniel Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Turner. And I'm going to piggyback off what you said there and echo what you said about Al Davis, with the ball going downfield, the vertical game. The important thing I look at, he looks like a pitcher coming off the mound. This is a guy who can drive the ball downfield. This is a guy who can drive an offense down the field. This is a competitive guy. This is not one of these mechanical manufactured quarterbacks like we saw with Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, or a plethora of others I don't have the time to rattle off right now, who look like they can make all the throws, they can run around the cones, they're technical, they're mechanical, they're robotic. This is a competitive guy that cares about winning. That cannot be stated enough. That's why this guy, not many of these guys, okay, Bill Belichick every year, he's not like most teams, okay? The Patriots, I know scouts that have worked with the Patriots. They don't have 400 guys on their draft board, okay, up in New England. They have maybe 30, 40, or 50 guys on the draft board, okay, that Bill has identified as Patriot guys, okay? There's a lot of these guys who will never be on my draft board as long as I live if I'm running a team. But Carson Strong is one of my guys. He's one of the guys I've identified as being a championship level potential quarterback. He's somebody that cares about the game. Football is important to him. He's very competitive. He's going to fester. He's going to that attitude is going to be infectious on the team. And I do believe that this guy is going to be a very good quarterback in the National Football League. My scouting mentor, who's a scouting director with the Dallas Cowboys, Lionel Vitale, has taught me years ago that, hey, Danny, he's the only one that can get away with calling me Danny. He's besides my mom. He says, Danny, if you got a quarterback, you got a chance. Well, guess what? Whoever's fortunate enough to get Carson Strong has a chance.
My final words about this young man out of the University of Nevada. He's from locally outside the San Francisco, California area. Like the great band that came out of that area, Jefferson Starship. We built this city on rock and roll. Hey, if you draft Carson Strong, you're going to be building some cities in the National Football League. If you liked the video today, please comment and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, joining me today from Key West, Florida. My man, I consider him the best in doing this, evaluating players on a high level. And please check us out because he's going to bring a lot of information when we start really getting deep and covering players in the 2022 NFL draft. My man, Daniel Kelly, he's got the resume. All I have to see and look at his resume, he studied under two of the greatest coaches that's coached this game in the National Football League, Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells. So if you like the video, one more time, please comment and share it. And my final words, I don't have to say no more. Go Braves. Look at Daniel Kelly. They right now, the city of Atlanta is on fire. I live in Metro Atlanta area, and it's unbelievable. Y'all have a blessed day here on 100 Yards of Football.
Get out the confetti and celebrate.